Cheers to anyone listening, and welcome to some big changes in our podcast format. It's Travis Smith, Chief Strategy Officer for what is known by some as Without Wire Inventory Sciences, but to others, simply WOW. No trademark infringement intended, everyone. This is my friend Matt with me. He is our marketing hire of the year.
Marketing hire of the year. Very excited to hear it.
And my hope is bringing you in, Matt, is going to jazz things up a little bit because we've got some things we've got to improve on here in this show. So, Matt, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Oh, it is so good to be here. I'm really excited to jump into it and get something going with the podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I appreciate everything you've done so far. And, let's start off with saying we're going to switch things up a little bit, Matt. I know that's a surprise to you, and we've been talking about this, but we've gotten some feedback that the host is slightly monotone and the entertainment value is not where it needs to be, and so we need to address it. So we're announcing a new focus on the challenges and opportunities beyond warehouse management. That, of course, means distributed collaborative fulfillment technologies, better known as inventory platforms. More on that later. So that's the new podcast. Is we're going to be calling it In Search of Inventory Truth, which is all about the necessity of inventory visibility in today's world. We're all aware of the difficulties with COVID and what it's brought to us, but it has changed commerce in our world, and companies are just needing to find a way to bridge that gap. So we're going to be talking about how to increase your growth plan and how to maximize the opportunity on software for your inventory management, field service, retail, e-commerce, and even beyond. So we have some huge news to announce also today, but first we're going to cover some questions from last week and have a little bit of fun. We got some good feedback from Matt's previous addition to the iPod. The iPod, or is it the podcast? I think it's podcast.
It could be a podcast on your iPod.
It could be, but I'm happy to say, Matt, we've got 3 videos to review to take a look at what you've produced with all your hard work this week. By the way, if people have questions of their own, they want to reach out to us in a voicemail, email, meet in the hallway, meet in the bathroom, we don't care. We can also visit us at our freshly designed high-res website, and you can start a chat right there. So we're always updating our knowledge base and content portal with articles, blogs, and how-tos that can help you wherever you are in your search for that inventory truth, Matt.
Yep, we're working really hard to make sure we can connect with everybody that's listening.
Yeah.
So you gave me the credence to start my own segment, so I'm coming in hot. I'm ready to announce it. This segment, we always talk about what it's like without wire. I want to see what life is like on the other side. What does that mean? We've got 3 clips, 3 videos to show you. We're focusing on Warehouse Edition today, and the main idea is it could go from bad to worse.
Just before we get started, is this meant to be educational or humorous or both?
I actually studied in the field of marketing, so this is strictly for entertainment purposes.
Okay, all right. So don't try this at home. We can't be held responsible.
Exactly. All right. You ready to dive in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Video number 1.
Yeah. What do you got? Okay. Everything looks normal here. Clearly, there's a problem and a lawsuit coming. I can't tell you why or what happened, but it has probably something to do with gravity.
Yeah, it definitely has something to do with gravity. You could say this guy's got a little problem in his warehouse with overhead.
I think it might be time for those guys to launch a new initiative.
It definitely is, and you can definitely tell these guys don't use without wire, and they are hurting because of it.
Yeah, for sure. He's not getting up off the floor anytime soon, hopefully.
Okay, so as I said, this next clip goes from bad to a little bit worse. So gear up. And we had to do a little in-house censoring on this one to block out any potential brands that you might see. There it is.
Oh no!
And there they go.
That's something that doesn't happen very often. Even if you are using our competitors' systems, you still probably aren't going to see that happening that often. So it's a good thing that that we're talking today.
I bet
Yeah,
you'd call this distracted driving. But my favorite part is I got it just on the right frame here. You see him look at the camera.
yeah, yeah.
He knows. He
Yeah,
knows he's getting filmed.
he's definitely looking at Without Wire podcast to get more information. That's I think what he's thinking.
Exactly. All
So,
right.
Matt, we also had some questions this week. I don't know if that's something that we want to go through now,
Yeah, I would love to go through some questions with you.
or we don't have to. If that's what you're thinking. I mean, this is all ad hoc. I mean, and you can even cut this stuff out if it's something you don't even like. Before we start, I have a question for you. How do we know they're fans at this point? I mean, if it
Because
could.
they wrote to us.
Okay, well, people that don't like me write to me as well, but that's a different story. All right, go ahead.
Fair enough. So, question one.
Mm,
Our company manufactures chemicals with strict compliance on traceability.
yeah,
What can help us reduce time in production?
that's easy. We've got all the answers to those things and more on our knowledge base. But let me start off by saying that, in my mind, a chemical company has to deal a lot with overpicking, underpicking, being able to fulfill the exact thresholds and tolerances of their customers. And that's where advanced picking comes in. It's a great way to go. And the other part of that is to have a consistent and dedicated effort on maintaining unit of measure schedules for all your items to use, especially when you're dealing with those unit of measure conversions. And there's nothing that can slow you down more than a missing box that never existed in the first place. The other part of that is you want to turn on your lot tracking if you're doing manufacturing. Turn it on and set it up for automatic creation so that you don't have to worry about doing that yourself or having somebody fat finger something into a screen or a mobile app or what have you. The other part is statistical data is great for determining whether or not you should spend a ton of your time dealing with scrap and whether it makes any sense or not. And by looking at the data, you can simplify those steps by taking a look at how often you're getting over and under usage out of your assembly line. And so, anyway, those are the items I got for that.
We did have another question come in this
Yeah,
week, and this one is related to e commerce.
yeah.
E commerce is now 35% of our
Hmm.
business.
Hmm.
How do we keep up?
You got to consider matching the picking techniques with the unique ordering patterns of e-commerce. Usually, you're dealing with more piece picks and you're dealing with fluctuations in consumer buying habits, much more than if you're dealing with B2B shipments. And so, when you take a look at those unique patterns, dealing with all scenarios, that's an important part of allowing yourself to scale in an e-commerce environment. The other part of that goes hand in hand is you want to implement some machine learning on top of that pattern recognition so you can look for anomalies in your data, in your ordering patterns, in your supply. Those are all tools that are becoming much more prevalent, and we're very excited to talk more about that later on.
Yeah, I recently heard that Etsy now started advertising for free for
Hmm.
the various people using their service. So these are smaller
Yeah.
businesses where it's one piece at a time almost, and they may not have an ad budget. But
Hmm.
what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're going to advertise at no cost to you. But if you get your product picked up, we tack on, a 12 to 15%
Hmm.
fee for you. Now, that's not going to stop anybody from doing anything. If anything, it'll give you 10% more orders. But the smart money goes on optimizing even past that to recoup that 10%. And I think implementing that AI and machine learning, as well as working with different picking techniques and things like that to organize your business, could really help you do that.
Yeah, great points. Great points. I think that's definitely something that we're very excited to be a part of with our customers and what they're doing as well. So there's change going on at all places, and even marketing can be impacted. So with that, a couple thoughts. It's been my honor for many years to be working with our hardworking team at Without Wire, and they've really made it possible to really align our entire product with Microsoft Dynamics and the Power Platform from Microsoft. And if you've been hiding out due to COVID or other possible natural disasters, and they're all over the place, well, you may not know, but Microsoft has produced some amazing innovations in the area of business applications and ERP and inventory as well. So, very excited to talk about that. And really, with that addition of the work they've been doing in these areas, it's really helped us to take our 3 year goals of our company and expedite those and allow us to focus in on what we're really good at in filling those gaps. But products like Microsoft Intelligent Order Management really pull it together and bring that AI and that machine learning to our customers and our product offerings that really augments the Power Platform and Dynamics to a whole new level. So, with that, I think it's important to talk a little bit about, for the first time, I'm excited to say we're announcing a summer launch for our Power Platform solutions. And I want you to keep your eyes on future details coming out soon from Matt and our team. So, what does that have to do with today's podcast? I've been talking about the limitations of WMS and ERPs and IMS for a long time now, and have been advising businesses to go beyond that in their implementation and growth strategies. And so, with that, WOW is expanding into an inventory platform that really it fills the blind spots with how you need to fulfill the inventory, whether it's mobile orders, whether it's retail, whether it's curbside. There are those weaknesses that exist in that fulfillment strategy that companies need to fill, and also gives that full visibility and frankly the inventory truth to what people are looking for. That's part of the inventory platform. It's simple, it's ubiquitous, and it's rapidly deployed to new business models that allows organizations to pivot, especially in today's world. So we're developing for Microsoft Power Platform, making this a real reality, and we're trying to explain to you now how Inventory Platform lets you grow in ways you didn't even see before. So, what better way to do that than to correlate it to a boxing match? Um, Inventory Platform versus traditional approaches to inventory management and others. I have to say this seems like a really interesting, fun idea. So let's give it a shot here, Matt.
All right, we're 2 for 2 on you letting me go with ideas. So we came up with this sort of in tandem, but the idea is it's the showdown. We have 4 qualifications that make a certain system the best for furthering your growth. There can
Mhm.
only be one champion.
Mhm.
And this is going to go through 3 rounds with the IMS, ERP, and the WMS facing up against the new uh, Power Platform backed inventory platform from Without Wire.
Mhm. Right on. Let's see what we got. This is very exciting.
Yes, so in round 1, we have
Oh,
the IMS
ooh,
versus the
ooh,
inventory
ouch,
platform.
man, that guy looks tough. Probably pretty good with the ladies, but that's our Jerry Lewis for you. Inventory platform there. Obviously not intimidated. And if we look at the tail of the tape here, you're going to see the 4 categories that we think are important to winning this bout. First of all, you've got the security and defense, how your system is able to adapt in an agile user sign up and sign off and deployment and those scenarios are so critical to growth and where that becomes important as well as licensing. If it's difficult to license and set up users in the system, it isn't working and it's not going to work. That's just the way it is. The next one we're going to look at is feature set, and so the strengths and striking ability of these competitors really is important. So that talks about feature set. Do you have the ability to tie into machine learning for your optimization and the fulfillment of orders? Do you have the ability to pick up anomalies in the data and act on those for replenishment and transfer orders being generated automatically? Those are the kind of things that we're talking about there. Adaptability, integration, scrappiness, being able to plug in to anything you need at any place you want it to be. That's what APIs are for. That's what that adaptability brings you when you're scoring this thing out. Longevity, Matt. Wind, the windedness. I don't know what wind means here. Let's just say wind is the wind beneath your wings. Okay. Longevity is, of course, are the investments your company's making today, are they for short term or are they going to really suit your needs long term? And I'll tell you that's where the investment in inventory platform is really doing well. Let's look at the numbers, Matt.
Scoring this without even looking, how do you think it's going to go?
Well, security, I'm going to say uh, great, pretty good. Not as good as 20, but feature set, I'm going to give it about a 10 or 12. You're giving it an 8. I get that. Adaptability, integration. I'm going to say fairly high, maybe 12. 15. Got it. I think we're in line there. Longevity. I'm going to give it a low score. I'm going to go with a 3. Yeah.
Hey, knocked it out of the park on the last one.
Yeah. No, we agree. I mean, I think, right? These are your numbers?
Yes, these are researched by University of Las Vegas and several casinos. So these are very accurate.
Great. What else we got?
So after we see that this is clearly a knockout based on that 3 to 25 in the longevity or the wind, which is old school boxing term for how much you can put up with cardio wise, we are facing off with the ERP versus the inventory platform.
Yes, ERP. The legend of business systems, ERP, is basically a catch-all phrase for enterprise resource planning. Very vague term, and people tend to think that everything belongs in the ERP, and unfortunately, that leads to overeating in the case of this competitor, and the inability to keep in shape, which means to basically keep every resource on their own diet plan from a resource budgeting perspective and forecasting. So ERP in the area of security scores very low here. I'd give it a 3, and that's probably because it's got very low ability to be agile and nimble to bring on and secure in a very important way. Maybe Active Directory integration across B2B and B2C different providers is important here. You got to move outside of your domain user account list. That's important in your strategy. So on the feature set side, I'm going to give it a fair score. 12 is what I'm giving it. And when we talk about adaptability and integration, this is a problem here. So I think the score we're going to be looking at here is a 0. Yeah, that's what I thought. Longevity is pretty good here. And the reason why it's good is everyone needs an ERP system if you're going to be running a business. The problem is don't build everything into it. Just leverage it, and you don't have to rip and replace. You don't have to put a new ERP system in unless it's unable to really integrate to anything, and that's a problem. So I give it a 10. So middle of the road.
So it looks like our knockout punch from inventory platform here on the ERP has to be on that adaptability and integration side, but it is not over yet. We still have one more bout to go, and this one has my favorite graphic. This is the WMS versus the inventory platform.
You got to be as quick as a cat against a WMS. I mean, well, and if you are already a cat, then you've just made it. It's all right. So interesting thing about WMS is let's start first of all with security. Security is very low grade here. I'm going to give it a 3 or a 6. They could be better than I thought, but they're not very good at adding and subtracting user licenses or ability to add non-domain accounts that are authenticated across different providers, such as a Microsoft scenario in the cloud and with your mobile apps running. So feature set wise, I'm going to give them a very high score, 10. 10 is pretty good. I think that when it comes to the WMS aspects of things, great. But when you're talking about field service, you're talking about manufacturing execution, you're talking about users out in the field doing curbside delivery, you're not going to have a WMS playing well there. So on to the next piece is, of course, integration. And integration is fair. You're going to have an ability to integrate to that. And so I'm going to give it a 3 because of the scrappiness and adaptability aspect of it. Integration is decent. Adaptability is poor, and it was mostly around the reasons of the feature set missing pieces that I was describing earlier. Longevity, I'm going to say is fairly high here. I'm going to give it a 8. 8 is it means that you don't have to rip and replace it. WMS works fine. It just requires you to continue to have that inventory levels updated through a central system so that real-time visibility can be combined into systems like Microsoft Order Management, Intelligent Order Management. Those are the kind of keys that you need to win. So overall, loser against WMS. Obviously, we're looking at some serious wins here with the inventory platform.
I think this has got to be a first in fictional boxing. One, it's a triple header
Yeah. I think we've seen Inventory Platform here is a champion, Matt.
All right. Well, like any good boxing match, there's always the sort of post-match interview, and I think the listeners would love to hear a little bit more
Yeah,
on the side of Inventory Platform, just running down the same stats and see where the real difference is.
yeah. The real difference in these areas and where we're keeping these scores, it really boils down to security coming first. You got to have a secure system. There's no question about it, and it's got to work in every scenario. It's got to be able to work when you have people on a mobile device that you barely know or don't know at all. Those can be your customers. It's got to work there. It's got to be able to work behind the four walls in a distribution center of a third party or even your own staff. It's got to be ubiquitous. The second part, of course, features make the difference. You got to have the features to be able to take care of not only the warehouse, but also the remote sites, the replenishment to different locations through transits or cross-site moves. And you also need that machine learning that layers on top of that and really drives efficiency through fulfillment.
What do you think the big difference in adaptability is?
Well, adaptability is being able to take all those features and turn them into a system that's very nimble, flexible, and rapid to be deployed. And that platform allows you to grow into whatever adaptable scenario you need to have. I mean, whether it's everyone's got to move to Antarctica to live there and sell, icicles, you got to be able to adapt. I mean, that's the name of the game. So, COVID is obviously a great example of what's produced buying behavior that's changed, and it's expedited the people that are running business to look at new solutions. And this is where inventory platform is really made for.
And if you're looking at for a good example of a business that was able to pivot their strategy and use a system that grew and changed with them, checking out our case study on Sunless Inc. would be a great look for you.
Yeah, good one.
Moving onwards.
Yeah, well, look, we've had a lot of fun today, and I know we've covered a lot of ground, but be sure if you're watching this and you like it, subscribe. And if you have any questions, great. As always, I'm ready to help. And reminding you that you can reach out via phone, email, website, you name it. And of course, that's no mystery to anyone under the sun who's using internet technology. But your question might even be featured on our next podcast. With that, thanks, Matt, for being here. And it's been great.
Without is a cloud-based inventory management service that brings science to barcode scanning for field techs, manufacturers, or warehouse pickers. Within minutes, you can set up your own personalized environment. With our embedded Microsoft Power BI and SQL reporting services, you'll get live views of your activity from nearly any device and form factor including iOS or Android-based smartphones, tablets, and rugged purpose-built scanning devices. Without inventory management solutions without equal.